What's up everybody, Maran here for another weekly update. So there's a few less stories to go over here this week just due to the holidays, but still some interesting stuff to cover here. And so the first news story here is that Mitsubishi has teased a new Ralliart concept they'll be showing at the Tokyo Auto Salon here in a few weeks. And so you can see it's very cool and aggressive looking with this rear diffuser, and see there's a new Ralliart badge design as well. And Mitsubishi did confirm earlier this year that they're going to begin making Ralliart badged vehicles again. So, you know, prepare for it to kind of be like an M Sport package or an AMG line type thing, most likely. But there could be some type of performance, because I mean, maybe this concept's just really far out, but that's a very aggressive rear diffuser for something that would just be an appearance package. You know, it's supposedly, you know, usually pretty mild. So to have this aggressive a diffuser, I know it's a concept, but still, I'm cautiously optimistic that maybe Ralliart will stand for more than just a sportier look going forward. So we'll have to see. It's also really tough to guess what this concept even is as far as the vehicle that it's based on. It could be an entirely new vehicle, but it is a concept, so even if it is miraculously some type of Evo looking thing, don't get your hopes up for any kind of new Mitsubishi Evo. That is almost certainly not going to happen, at least not until Mitsubishi is much better off financially than they are currently. So the leading theory is it could be some type of Outlander Ralliart or something, since that's their newest, you know, most cutting edge model that represents what they're doing going forward. There's also talks that maybe the Ralliart could be like a faster plug-in hybrid version, and that's kind of what they badge the PHEV instead of just being like it's a plug-in hybrid. They could be kind of like same thing with Toyota with the RAV4 Prime and attaching that Prime badge to it. Now Toyota isn't calling it a TRD or anything, but maybe Ralliart will use their badge for that possibly. It's hard to say, but it does seem very sporty, whatever this concept is here. So thankfully, we don't have much longer to wait. It's about 3 weeks away from the Tokyo Auto Salon, so we should find out pretty soon here. But interesting to see that teaser. Maserati has also teased the Cabrio version of the MC20 supercar, but unfortunately the camo covers the roof, which is the main part that we're kind of wondering about. So we'll have to wait to find out if it's going to be a soft top or a power folding hard top. But either way, the MC20 continues to look great here, even in Cabrio form. It's so cool to see that teaser. Aston Martin this week has yet again teased the new V12 Vantage that's coming. And so they posted a short little clip on Twitter of the car revving, and you see a quick shot of the back end. And the video's caption, "Do not go gentle into that good night." And they say, "Never leave quietly" at the end of the video. So of course it sounds fantastic. Another vehicle for my dream car wish list here. And so it looks like it's also going to be getting the rear wing, most likely from the F1 edition of the Vantage as well. Maybe it should maybe be a little bit different. We also know that the front end is going to be heavily reworked to accommodate that V12 and the extra cooling it needs. But yeah, sounds very promising. Hopefully we do get a full reveal of the new V12 Vantage soon, but cool to at least hear it. I'll take all the revving teasers they want to give us, because I can listen to that thing rev all day. Another little news story here. CarBuzz has discovered that Ford has trademarked the Maverick Tremor name in Chile, and it's kind of strange that that's where they're trademarking it, because they don't even sell the Maverick in Chile. So I'm not sure, you know, some people are saying it could just be their way of dodging the trademark hunters, and, you know, like CarBuzz, but clearly CarBuzz found it anyway, so I'm not sure why it was filed there. But regardless, it just proves that Ford is at least thinking about a Maverick Tremor and, you know, setting up for potentially having that as a, you know, trim line. And they have Tremor versions of the Ranger, the F-150, the F-250s and stuff, everything basically. It's a truck within Ford. So it makes sense that they would do it for this. And, you know, it could just amount to, you know, basically what you see on like the Bronco Sport Badlands version or something, where you get a little bit of a lift, slightly knobbier tires, stuff like that, just a little bit beyond what you get with the FX4 package currently on the Maverick. And so yeah, pretty interesting to hear about that. And most likely when that does arrive, whatever, you know, rugged version it will be called, you know, I'm sure it'll be showing up at some point next year, most likely. And a bit of sad news this week here, partially. So Hyundai's fantastic head of R&D, Albert Biermann, has announced that he'll be retiring. He is 65, so it kind of makes sense, you know, from that standpoint. But he does say he's going to be continuing as the executive technical advisor for Hyundai Motor Group still. And so thankfully, that'll mean most likely that his influence will continue to be felt with future vehicles, even if he's not actively, you know, participating quite as much as before. hopefully, he's given a lot of great guidance. He's the guy responsible for the Kia Stinger. He's the guy responsible for the N models, and not only just approving those and pushing them through, but making them as fantastic as they are. He was actually the one that gave part of the presentation for the Elantra N whenever I went on the launch of that last month, and it was very cool to be able to, be in the same room as him. I didn't get a chance to talk to him, but just to, hear him kind of explain, his motivation for N and everything. And little did I know that would be probably the last launch that he's doing here. And so he's done fantastic work for Hyundai, Kia, and Genesis here. He's had a hand in developing all the fantastic driving Genesis models. That's all him as well. And obviously he has a whole team that also puts in a lot of work too. But, it's great the leadership he's done here over the past few years. And so it's kind of sad he's stepping down a little bit, but hopefully, he continues to have a lot of influence here. But interesting to hear that. And the last news story this week is also not great news if you're a fan of gas guzzlers. So the EPA announced new fuel economy standards this week that will go into effect for the 2023 model year. So this means basically anything that's comes out here in the middle of next year and beyond will be subject to these new standards. And so the new standard is 40 miles per gallon for the fleet average for a car company for light duty vehicles. So of course the heavy duty trucks and stuff are fully exempt, so they can continue to still be crazy with those. But as far as light duty stuff, 40 mpg is going to be the limit here. And so that's a big jump up considering the previous standards were saying that by 2026 it would have to be 32 miles per gallon. So we're going from 32 to 40. So that does mean that there's going to be a big ramp up as far as fuel economy in pushing for greater fuel economy among the fleets of vehicles. And so even though these new rules do take a big jump up here, EPA says that nearly all major automakers have announced plans to transition their vehicle fleets to zero emissions. And car companies can also still buy credits if their fleet average happens to be lagging behind, which is basically like what Dodge has been doing. They've been buying credits from Tesla, the CAFE credits, so that they've avoided a lot of those fines and stuff because they've been under for a while. And so that can still happen. So if a company has deep enough pockets and they want to just buy a bunch of credits, they can still have whatever fuel economy they want to have. And keep in mind, this is also a fleet average. And like the EPA highlights, with electric cars coming, that's going to bring the average way, way up. And this is kind of what Ford alluded to, one of the Ford executives, when they're talking about the Mach-E and the actual two-door Mustang. And they said how the Mach-E is kind of helping to keep the Mustang around for several different reasons. But one of those reasons is it raises that fleet average. So if you have, a Mustang two-door that's still getting 20 miles per gallon or something, if you have the Mustang Mach-E, which gets like 100 mpge, really raises up that average. And then you can still have the stuff that's well under 40 miles per gallon, but because of all the EVs coming out, it helps to keep the gas stuff around. And so this doesn't mean the end of gas guzzlers. Yes, it does drag down the fleet average, so it depends on the company as far as how willing they're going to be to drag that average down and how many EVs they have to offset it. But this is another reason why we shouldn't fear EVs. If the masses go and buy the EVs, that brings that average nice and high, and then that can allow for some of this other stuff. If the market conditions and stuff and the demand is still there for that stuff, they can still continue on with that stuff. Obviously not forever. We do know we're going, for basically a fully electric future for most of these car companies eventually. But you still have several years here to enjoy. And even by 2026 with a 40 mpg fleet average, you still are going to have time beyond that thanks to the EVs helping to raise those averages for these companies. So, just kind of interesting to, see how that's all going to play out. But clearly, the days of the gas guzzler are still numbered, and gas vehicles in general, for the most part, although that will probably take much more time. But, we're heading toward that direction. So, as I've said, even before all these fuel economy standards were increased, live in the now, enjoy this stuff while we can. And so if you're on the fence and you've wanted a Challenger or a Charger or a Mustang or something else with a giant V8, enjoy them now. Get them now if you can afford them, and enjoy it while you can. And but very interesting to hear about those new standards, and we'll see how that changes plans. I mean, a lot of these car companies knew this was coming. That's why you're seeing a lot more hybridization and stuff like that. And we'll just have to see how it plays out. But it's very interesting that it's taken that much of a hike up. But yes, that's it for all the news this week, guys. So I hope you all have a very Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. And thank you all very much for watching. I will be back next week for the final weekly update of the year on New Year's Eve. And I'll also be doing a look back at the channel and talking about some of the changes I'm planning for the channel for 2022 and a few other things, as well as going through my list of like my top 10 favorite vehicles I drove this year and the worst vehicle I drove this year. So definitely stay tuned for all that in next week's weekly update. But yes, I hope you all have a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Thank you all very much for watching. Please also continue to stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.